All right. So like I said, I want you to circle up a random sample of 5 words. It's on page 5 in your packet. And this is not working. After you write down the 5 words that you've chosen, I want you to find the average for that. So add up all the letters, divide by 5 since you picked out 5 words. I'm going to do this along with you guys because we don't have a ton of people in here today. So I got my random sample here. Find your average. Once you have found your average, I want you to take one of these dots and you're going to put it on the dot plot that is over here on the blackboard. So you need your average number of letters. So add up all the letters in the words that you chose, divide by 5, and then go put your dot on the dot plot. That's fine. If it's point something, put it as close to what you can, like as close as you can. Sorry. Put your hand up. Too late. You're welcome. All right. Let me do mine. All right, so I picked out. Okay, so 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. All right, so I got an average of 5 for mine. I want you guys to copy this dot plot into your notes so that you have it for reference later. Copy the dot plot into your notes so that you have it for reference later. Okay, so while you guys are copying this down, I'll explain why I had you pick out a random sample of words here. I said we're going to use statistics to determine if Beyonce wrote the lyrics to Crazy in Love. A well-established fact is that different authors use different styles and word choice. It turns out, and this has been tested repeatedly, that the average word length is fairly consistent for each author. You can use that to distinguish one author from another. It's one of the ways that they find out, like, oh, this is claimed to be written by so-and-so. We've done some historical analysis. We figured out it was actually ghostwritten by somebody else. Because you can look at works that you know that author wrote and compare that average word length to the average word length of the piece in question. So that's what we're doing here. We know for a fact that Beyonce wrote the #1 songs for Destiny's Child. So we have what her average word length is. We're going to compare the average word length of Crazy in Love to her known average word length here to try to determine, did somebody else write this song or did she write this song? We don't have time, though, to add up all the letters in all the words of all the verses and choruses for this song. So we're doing a random sample because we can do that pretty quickly in class. We're going to use a random sample of 5. That's why I had you guys pick out 5. This first sample is what we call a convenience sample. I asked you guys to pick out what you thought was a random sample of 5 words, do the best you could, and put your average up on the board. How good do you guys think you did at being random? Pretty good? So humans are actually pretty bad at this overall. Humans go and we look for patterns. Our eyes are drawn to specific things. So even when we try really hard to be random, we're not as random as we think we are. I do want you to go ahead and pick out a random sample of 5 words and I'll have you add yours too. So to make up for this, we're going to do another sample of 5 words, but I'm going to tell you how I want you guys to pick out those 5 words. I want you to go on your phone, or if you have a computer or a tablet or whatever, phones are fine. Into Google, I want you to type random number generator. Random number generator. And I want you guys to look at page 6 in your notes. Somebody, bless their heart, wrote down and numbered all of the words of the song. Right? Page 6 in your notes. Somebody wrote down all the words to Crazy in Love and they numbered them. So, yeah. So like the first verse, I look and stare so deep in your eyes. I is word 1, look is word 2, and is word 3, stare is word 4. No, on page 5, you have words to Crazy in Love. Pick out a random sample of 5 of those words. Circle them up. Yep, right here.
So what do we do?
All right, hold on. I'm going to tell you. How many words total are in the song? 297. And so we start at word 1. We're going to go all the way up to 297. So you need to change the maximum from 10 to 297. You're going to use the random number generator to randomly generate 5 different numbers. If it gives you a repeat, just hit it again. 5 random numbers. And you're going to go and find that word and circle it. And then do it for the second word and the third word. You should end up with a total of 5 words. Again, if it somehow magically gives you the same number twice, just hit it again. And then I want you to find the average for that.
That's on page 1.
Page 6 is where the numbered words are. Page 1 is where I want you to record them. Not yet. So you pick up your 5 words here. So what I want you to do is count up all letters, and you're going to divide it by 5 for the average word length in your sample. And once you have that, once you have the average, you're going to take this blue list and you're going to add it to the dot on it. And then I'll show you how to do the other part. So, you have your average, I'm going to bring a green dot around. You're going to come and put your green dot up here on this other dot plot. Sorry. What did I do? You picked out your 5 words? There we go. Add up the letters. Divide by 5. You want to know the average length of the word. How many letters on average are in these words?
Oh, you got
Are you sure you did that right? Probably.
I don't think I did it right.
What'd you get? A big number? Wait. What are you doing?
I think I did it.
What are you doing to get your number?
No.
You use the random number generator.
Oh,
You
shit.
use that to find the word.
It's not too much.
Sorry.
Nothing
Wait, what?
Okay. Where's your random number? Okay. Is that the first one?
Oh, I gotta go back to the thing.
Hold on. Right here, page 6. Find the number on here. Circle that word. Do that for all 5 numbers.
Oh.
And then count up the letters in those words. And then divide by 5. Okay, did that part? Did you get your dot up there? Okay. So now what I want you to do is you're going to go to random number generator, just on Google. It's basically the same thing. You can go from 1 all the way to 297.
Y'all was talking. I was all checked. I was trying.
I saw you tell it to generate. Find word 82 and circle it.
I was trying. I just couldn't get it. I know.
You're going to do that for a total of 5 words, so 4 more times. If it happens to give you the same number twice, just hit it again. You want 5 different words.
But she didn't have to call her. She wasn't going to talk to me.
Yeah.
149. Guys, I want you to copy this dot plot down into your notes. Copy the dot plot into your notes.
Yeah, yours is like an outlier.
Alright.
Okay, you got your 5 words? You're going to add up the letters and divide by 5 again. And this time you're going to put a green dot up. 2. With. Does that look better now? Okay. 77. Me. Get our last couple ones up here. 41. Thing. All right. See if I can get mine up here too. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So I have 16 divided by 5 for this one. That'd be what, 3.2? Somebody help me out. 16 divided by 5. Okay, so I'm going to go put up my dot at 3.2. Copy that into your notes. I know I said that once already. I put my dot on the blue one before. That's why I added the dot, because she was running a little bit behind. So there should be.
So do you want us to add her dots?
Yeah, there should be 17 dots total. All right. So you should have dot plots for 3 and for 4 drawn in there. What do you notice about those 2 dot plots? Like, what stands out to you? They all have what? They all have a cluster. Where's the cluster for the blue one, the one that we did first? Yeah. So if I were to ask you to ballpark the mean, or ballpark the median, about where would you put it? About 5. We think our center is at about 5, right? Where's the cluster for the one that we just did when we used the random number generator? Much closer to 3, right? Somewhere in between 3 and 4, it looks like we've got a cluster a little bit smaller than 3. We've got a cluster a little bit higher. What do you think about the variability? There appears to be more variability in the first one. So the first one that we did, I told you guys this already, go ahead and label it if you haven't. This is called a convenience sample. convenience sample, you pick out whatever is close, nearby, whatever you can grab. I asked you guys to pick out a sample of 5 words. Go. When we used our random number generator, it randomly selected 5 numbers for you, somewhere in between 1 and 297. We would call this a simple random sample. Or it gets abbreviated as SRS. Simple random sample, SRS. So, which way of selecting or of trying to determine the average word length do you think would be closer to the actual average word length? Which one has less variability? The random number generator. Right. So we have smaller center or a lower center, lower variability. This is number 5, by the way. I'm trying to get this off, which is why I'm not writing on the board. Random number generator seems to have done a better job of reducing our variability at the very least. We did have much more cluster together on this one. Why do you think that is? I'm curious. When you were picking out your 5 random numbers, just the first one that you did when I said pick out 5 random numbers, how many people selected the word A? Or my? A couple of my's. Did anybody pick out the word A? I want you to look through the lyrics. You can look on page 5 or page 6. Does A happen very much? But what would selecting a word like that do to the average? It's going to lower it. My shows up quite a bit, right? That only has 2 letters in it. If that's included in your sample, it's also going to reduce the average. What do you guys think is the actual true mean word length for Crazy in Love? I think it's 4. Give me a guess. What'd you say? 4? You think it's 4? Huh? Above 3. It's right about here. 3.5. Which of our samples did a better job of getting close to what the average was? Simple random sample. For the convenience sample, did we have anybody that was at the average? And when I'm looking at a distribution, because my samples, I'm going to have some that are smaller and some that are bigger, but my distribution, like, there's nothing that was smaller. The entire clump is larger. We know, because again, we have authenticated authorship on the Destiny's Child songs that she wrote. Beyonce's true mean word length is 3.64. 3.64. If you use the convenience sample, would you think that she was the true author of the song? No, because that one, the middle looks to be about where? Right around 5-ish, right? What about using our simple random sample? So, do we have enough evidence to say that Beyonce did not write the song? No, I can't say for sure that she did write the song, but I do have enough evidence to say I can't say that it's definitely got to be somebody else. So for number 7, I'm going to say no. You guys told me that this is somewhere in between 3 and 4, so we went with like 3.5. the true mean word length of Crazy in Love. Oh, sorry, I got it off by just a little bit. It's 3.53. That was very close. To the Destiny's Child mean word length. Of 3.64 letters. And we know that Beyonce wrote those songs. Sorry for my messy handwriting. This is not being very kind to me today. So I would say, based on the evidence that we have, knowing the true mean word length of this song, knowing her true mean word length from the songs that we know that she wrote with Destiny's Child, does it look like she probably is the one that wrote this? Yeah. Go ahead and flip over to the back. The population for this example would be all the words in that song. Population is the whole big thing that we were looking at. Since we were looking at the average word length of Crazy in Love, the population was all the words in that song. From the population, we gather our samples. Because usually it's not possible to go and get the information that we want from every single member of that population. Just like it wasn't realistic for us as a class to calculate, to add up the numbers of letters in every single word in Crazy in Love, right? That would have taken us probably more than the whole class period to add it all up. Convenient sample, it's easy to reach. That's what I had you guys do first. Grab things that were within easy reach. Voluntary response. This is where people choose to respond. This is more like, have you guys ever seen people taking surveys like at a mall or they're out on the street or something? They're just kind of walking around like, hey, can I ask you a couple of questions? Is that okay? That would be a volunteer sample. Or if somebody sets up a booth and you come over to the booth and then they interact with you, those would be volunteer samples. People choose whether or not they want to participate. Both of those, convenient samples and voluntary response samples, can lead to bias. Bias happens not because people are trying to be awful, but bias in a statistical sense is when the information that we gathered and what we calculated from that, so in this case average word length, is not representative of that whole population. So bias happens basically when we've gathered bad information about our group. Then we've talked about a simple random sample. Next week we'll talk about some other sampling methods. Convenient samples do get used in statistics. So do voluntary response samples. When someone conducts a study, they talk about the method that they use to select their sample. Sometimes it's not really possible to do a simple random sample. Like doing a simple random sample, if I wanted to do a simple random sample of 5 people that live in Indiana, what did we have to have in order to calculate our random sample so that I knew what to put in the random number generator? I had to have a number assigned to each word in the song. So I had to have a total number of words in the song, and then I had to assign a number to each one of those words. If I wanted to do the same kind of thing for Indiana and I wanted to pick out 5 random people, I would need the names of every single resident of Indiana, and I would have to assign a number to every, or I'd have to write their names down and put them in a hat or something. I'd have to have them all. And then I can randomly pick out those 5. Is that really feasible here? Not really. I mean, not unless you work in government. Somehow you have unending amounts of time and money and you're trying to find something to do. It's just not workable sometimes. So the other sampling methods do get used, but they always acknowledge, hey, we realize that these results might not represent our population. To do a simple random sample, you have to label all of the individuals. In this case, what were our individuals? What were the things that got assigned numbers? The words. So the individuals in this example were the words of the song. We assign them all numbers, or you can write them all down on a slip of paper. We could have written down all 297 words on a different little slip of paper. I'm sure my daughter would have loved me. She cuts up paper in these little things. She's like, do you want a bookmark? Do you want a bookmark? Do you want a bookmark? She would have happily cut up 297 little strips of paper for us. Then you have to randomize it. It doesn't work if we were doing the strips of paper method and you guys are just dumping them in a bucket for me, the last couple words are going to be the ones on top, right? So we got to mix them all around. Or since we assign numbers to them, we use a random number generator. Somehow we have to have a way of getting a good mix of this. I really like the soup analogy. You guys ever make soup or watch somebody make soup or have ever eaten soup? If you add something to your soup, say you take a taste of it and it's not salty enough for you, so you add some salt to it. Do you immediately then stick your spoon in right where you put the salt and take a bite? What do you do first? You mix it around. You want it to become incorporated in the whole thing so that when you take a bite of that soup, it is a random sample of the whole bowl. You want to get a good idea of what the whole bowl is going to taste like so you know whether you need to add more or whether you added too much. That is what a random sample should do. So we have to have this mixing component in there. Otherwise, it's not going to be truly random. You're going to get a big bite of salt. Then you select. In this case, I had you guys select how many? I had you guys pick out 5. Could I have had you pick out more? It would have taken longer to add up the letters and divide, but we could have done, say, a random sample of 10. Any idea what we would have seen if I'd had you use the random number generator and pick out 10 words instead of 5? What do you think would happen to the center and the variability of our graph? It's going to have less variability. The center is going to stay in about the same spot, but the variability is going to reduce because we're taking a larger random sample here. I want you guys to take about 5 minutes and try to check your understanding that's down at the bottom of the page, and then we'll compare answers. couple minutes. We're gonna go over the answers for this. In number 1, with this store manager, what kind of sample did the manager obtain? Voluntary response sample. Voluntary response sample. Really important when you are asked about sampling methods, you want to name the method that is being used. So first we got to name it, voluntary response sample. It says explain why this sampling method is biased. What do you think? Ben, you got an idea? People choose whether or not to rate. I want you to think about yourself in this situation too. Yes?
The method is biased because they're luring people into giving them a good review, $10 gift cards.
They're luring people into giving them a good review with this $10 gift card, right? If somebody gives you something for free, are you more or less likely to say, yeah, I loved it? Yeah, more likely. So the people volunteered to respond were likely motivated to give the business 5 stars. Whatever answer you have, this is my model answer here. I'll say what I need to say to get this free $10 gift card. So there we're explaining why we think it's biased. So the manager did this and he finds that 92% of the customers rate the business with 5 stars. Is that likely to be greater than or less than the percentage of all people in the community who truly believe the business deserves 5 stars? Probably greater than. That would be my guess. People that really like the business are going to be more likely to respond. Or even people that feel like mostly okay about it are probably going to rate it a little bit higher. Make sure when you are answering questions about these, you want to name the method that is being used. You would want to explain why it's biased. And then at the end, you want to say whether the mean of that would be higher or lower than the actual because of that bias. Was our convenience sample bias with Crazy in Love? It was bias. It was biased because did we do a good job of capturing approximately where the mean of the true mean was? No. Our average on our convenience sample was much higher than the true mean. All right, last one. Question number 2. To help reduce bias, the manager decides to survey the next 10 customers that make a purchase. What kind of sampling method is he using now? That's a convenience sample. So we're going to name it first. Why could that one be biased?
Are you surveying like actual customers?
Yeah. Next 10 people that walk through the door. He is surveying the next 10 customers that make a purchase. If they're making a purchase, they probably like the product, right? I like that answer. These customers might not be representative of the whole population. If you made a purchase, you probably like what they have there. So my guess would still be that it's getting higher ratings than customers who chose not to purchase. Lacey, I loved your answer. That was a shorter version of exactly what I had. All right, so his voluntary response sample didn't really work out to find out the true customer service rating or customer rating. Convenience sample, not really giving us the true mean here, the true average. What could he do then to avoid bias? He could survey, like, take a random sample of everybody that walks in the store, not just people that purchase. Should he do something like the next 10, or would that not be the best? Like, how should he pick out the people that he's going to survey? People in the community? Still, how does he decide who to walk up to and ask? Or how should he decide? What worked for us to get close to the mean? Random, right? He should try to be as random as possible if he wants to find out the true average. So he needs to try to conduct a simple random sample in SRS. Whether that means that he like numbers people as they come in and then uses a random number generator to select 10 of those, or he looks at the community, or he selects neighborhoods randomly. Somehow he has to try to randomly select the people that he is going to go and talk to get what that true average is. You guys got the first homework assignment of this chapter that is due next Thursday. Next Thursday. Yep, homework assignment that was up there in the pickup tray is due next Thursday. Part B, yeah. That sampling method would be a biased sampling method.
I know by
In a statistics standpoint,